call the meeting to order. If you'll all stand, we'll have the pledge and then be led in prayer by Jim K. Parker. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, we thank you so much for this beautiful day. Actually, we thank you so much for this beautiful summer that you just blessed us with. We thank you for all of our county employees, all of our county officials. It's a good day to be with the county commissioners as they can go to business and give them guidance. Thanks.
Next up is public comment on anything that's on the agenda today. If you have anything, step to the podium and state your name and your address. Hearing nothing, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from the July 23rd, 2018 regular meeting. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next up is the approval of the claims for payroll and the general claims as presented. Jennifer?
Thank you. Good morning. The accounts payable docket I have for you today is for $2,012,145.10. And the payroll claims docket is in the amount of $337,048.42.
Move to approve claims.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented. Any discussion or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Anything else, Jen?
Not at this point, except for, I did receive between the meetings the 2019 commitment request letter from West Central Solid Waste, and I forgot to have you put that on the agenda. I don't know if you want to consider that later or at tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
Anyway, just a reminder on that. She needs it by October the 15th.
Okay, thanks. Roy, if you want to just put that on our agenda for next meeting.
Yes.
Any other department heads or elected officials have anything? All right, moving on to old business. Is the first thing on the agenda is the Ben-Hur proposal. A little background, as you know, we took the public hearing at the last meeting, and we only had one proposal that was submitted by the time it was due at the last meeting by John Anderson and Associates. John is here. John, you have anything you'd like to say?
Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have
questions?
Dan, you have anything to add?
Just that the actual process requires you to adopt a confirmatory resolution, which I have prepared. It's 2018-11. If you want to take action on the transfer, this resolution does that, and it would transfer the property to Mr. Anderson's group with conditions, the same conditions that you had last time, and that would be your next step. You don't have to take that action today, but that's your next step. So it's there before you.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for Dan?
I'd move to approve resolution 2018-11.
Second. Have a motion and a second to approve 2018-11. Any questions or discussion amongst these guys?
You're going to stay on this like you did the last deal?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Nothing else, then I would call for the question on 2018-11. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, John. We appreciate it. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
You need a signed copy, or?
Okay.
John will get it, okay.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Okay, moving on to the next item is second reading ordinance 2018-21, establishing the Health Department 2018-2019 Preparedness Grant Fund. Anything, Dan?
This ordinance merely establishes the Preparedness Grant Fund for 2018-19 for the Health Department. The funds will be used for the compensation and benefits for preparedness coordinator and other expenses related to the administration of the grant. The grant is a $15,475 grant that Montgomery County received from the Indiana State Department of Health. This is second reading.
At this time, I would entertain a motion for. Amber, you got anything to add? We're getting ready to vote on your grant.
No, I don't. It's a typical grant. We get it every year. We apply for it every year, and this will fund the preparedness coordinator salary and some supplies that we need for the trailer.
Move to approve ordinance 2018-21.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve 2018-21. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next up is second reading on ordinance 2018-23, amending the chapter 110 of the Innkeepers tax. If you recall, this is due to some change in legislation, and you have anything to add, Dan?
Yes, this changes the definition of who's in the business of renting rooms. So there's just a slight change in that definition. The two primary changes to this law the legislature made was they eliminated the political diversity requirement on appointments. The law had read prior that no more than two appointees could be appointed by the county. Two appointees could be as members of the same party, and they're being appointed by the county or the mayor. The legislature has removed that requirement, so there's no political diversity requirement now. In addition, there was a prior requirement that members of the commission were required to be residents of the county. That has been changed slightly and now would allow people who work in a convention, visitor, or tourism business in the county but live elsewhere to also serve. So it makes that rule a little more flexible. This is second reading.
This time I'd entertain a motion for 2018-23.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Moving on to new business. First up is USI additional service agreement for roadway resurfacing projects.
Jeremy texted and said he couldn't be here.
Yeah, Pat's got it.
Okay. That's fine. Dan has reviewed the agreement and says it's good to go. So it's an addition onto the previous agreement we have, and for the road resurfacing stuff, or the road resurfacing project. So at this time, I would entertain a motion for the USI additional service agreement for roadway resurfacing projects. So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion amongst you two? No? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Next up is technical service agreement, Allow Associates Incorporated financial software. Jennifer, you have anything you'd like to add on this?
Well, we've discussed it at some length with regards to how we want to move forward in this county with the financial software. And so I had presented that to you to have Dan look over the agreement and see if it was acceptable to the commissioners or not. Janet and Heather LaFoon and I have done quite a bit of research on this and have had demonstrations and other various exposure to the system that we're wanting to go to, which is used by about half the counties in the state, designed in the state, for the state, built around the walls, which is a bit different than what we're used to working with. It's a bit more efficient of a system. It allows for electronic transactions to happen in a way that's a bit more transparent and sends out notifications about those, where our current system does not. And then the reports would be much, much faster. And what's driven it has been a directive we've received from the State Board of Accounts, requiring that we submit to them on a regular basis a great deal more reports than what we typically do. And so one of the things with our current software is that the reports are very time consuming. So this would help make that more efficient. So that's the direction we'd like to head with that. I don't know if you have any questions for me about it.
I guess before we go to questions for Jennifer, I'll add a little bit to this. So I have had a couple meetings with a couple of councilmen, Councilman Booth and Councilman Mills, called and asked me to sit down with them and have some discussion on this at the request of not only this software, but we also have the assessor, which is not happy using what she's currently using. And Sherry, can you refresh my memory what the one you'd like to go to is called?
Xsoft.
Xsoft?
Yeah, our current vendor is only left in 3 counties
Right.
in the states.
So she had expressed some concerns as well as the auditor and the treasurer, all three. So as they were working with Jeff Peters in the financial plan for Montgomery County, they wanted to get some type of firm numbers and stuff so that Jeff could plug in to see if this was actually feasibly going to be possible financial-wise. So Lau Associates is in several, like Jennifer said, probably several of the counties, almost half the counties in the state of Indiana. And the information I've been able to gather, they've come highly recommended for the assessor in the treasurer's office, as well as the one that Sherry's wanting to go to. The other thing that is, I guess I had kind of had the meeting and talked about Sherry's software with Don and Gary first, and then this came along to tag on to it. My concern was the different softwares, 2 different softwares, but upon my investigating work and talking to both companies and talking to the office holders, these two softwares work hand in hand throughout many of the counties in the state. So to see Lau and Xsoft working in the same county is not uncommon. Lau is going to have, Xsoft is going to have a software maybe next year or so that would work with assessors and treasurers, or the treasurers and the auditors. However, it would be rolling out new, which is always a concern going forward for a year or two. But Xsoft did assure me that working with Lau and their softwares interacting together is something that they do quite often throughout the county. So that's kind of the history. So that's how they asked me to sit down as far as from the commissioner's side. Obviously they approve it as far as financial wise. We approve the contracts for the county, so that's why they had called and asked to have some discussion about it. And as they were looking forward as far as budgeting standpoint, whether it was something that's going to be feasibly possible. So now I guess with that, if anybody has questions for either Jennifer or I, either one, then that's fine.
Well, you could, or, go ahead. Sorry, go.
You know, I asked if there's gonna be a councilman here to talk to us about it. I don't see either of the guys you talked to. I know we will be at the council meeting tomorrow, and maybe that's a better opportunity to get, because I'd like, I mean, this is $350,000.
No, not, turn on my microphone. The contract that we're seeking right now with Lau Associates does not include their property tax software. It only includes the financial software. So it is $160. And we can pay that all at once, or we can pay it over 3 years, and without any kind of a service fee added to that. But
Where did I get the 350 number in that email?
well, initially when we were looking at both of them, that was the original number. But upon further research, we just kind of want to stay with our current property tax software, change our financial software. But then in the future, you know, I've had discussions with their software team. There's some things that we have now that they don't have, that we like. And you know, if they're getting to the point where they have everything, the full palette that we want, then we would probably consider that, but not at this point.
Well, I don't have a problem with what your process you're going through. I've talked to Gary as well several times. We're on the pre-development commission together and talk outside of that. So we do have a lot of conversations. I do think justified. I guess I just, you know, I would like to hear from the council as far as the budgeting for next year, where they, if they're planning on cutting some of, you know, what we turned in as a preliminary budget for next year, if they're cutting some of the budget back to get this money. I'd like to know where that.
My initial proposal to the council, in my talks with Gary, since he's my council liaison, there is sufficient funding in Riverboat to pay for it now this year. So it wouldn't affect next year's budgeting other than a slight increase on the annual fee. Because right now we pay an annual fee to our current software vendor, and the next year the annual fee would be adjusted slightly.
I guess I do see Terry out there. Do you have any comments on this from a council perspective funding this?
No, you know, the office holders need the right tools to do the job they're doing, and this sounds like the right tools really compared to what they got now. And I think the riverboat money was more than covered for this year, and it's ongoing. And I assume this should get 4 votes tomorrow to do that.
So I just prefer to talk with the council tomorrow. When we get there, we can vote on it then, I guess. Is that all right?
That's fine. I kind of expected that. I just wanted to get it in front of everybody and have.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with what you're
doing.
doing.
That was my biggest push. The other thing that the bonus is the push is to actually do this conversion in 2018, so we carry 2018 data forward with us in this software to provide us with more history as we go forward in it. And also, there's a $15,000 discount if you sign before September. So those are my two reasons for the push.
Goes along with my question, I guess, Jennifer, is do we know what or if there will be any additional costs from the current carrier to help with the conversion, or is it just by the hour, or is Lau able to pull the data without any additional help from the current
From
provider?
what he's told me, they should be able to pull from what we currently have. It's our data.
Right.
So they can pull it and, format it in such a way that it works with their software.
Well, I guess you probably already answered my other question, was the historical side of it on the property taxes. We're not affecting that at all.
Well, this isn't the property tax software, this is
That's
just
what
the
I'm saying.
financial software, so it won't affect that.
So for the public, when they go online, they'll still be able to see all their data as far as property taxes. I agree with John. I think the way to, I guess I'd make a motion to take it under advisement at this point in time.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to take this under advisement today. And then I'll hand it back to Dan because he had not reviewed it yet, but said he would be able to review it. And also, I will tell you that, I don't know if Jennifer knew this part or not, but we also, prior to talking to Jennifer about the LAO and Sherry about hers, Gary, Don and I also sat down with Greg Jordan and a couple others from Guts and discussed some of our issues and stuff and everything. So we started the whole process out that way and then moved on to discussing this and trying to gather numbers of what the cost would be. But I think that it's not just coming from one office, it's coming from 3 different offices, and Sherry's shaking her head at me back here smiling big. So it tells us that maybe we need to really seriously look at our system and see what we can do to make it better. So at this time, if there's nothing else, the motion is to take this under advisement. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes 3-0. Anything else, Jen?
Well, the next one's time too.
Okay.
But this is, Fund 4700 was established by the State Board of Accounts as the number to use if you have self-insurance. And they do that because self-insurance works so differently than the other types of insurance. With fully insured plans, you pay a premium to an insurance company based on what you withhold from people's paychecks and what the commissioners contribute every pay period. And the premium utilizes all of that funding. So essentially that line zeroes out. But with self-insurance, that money, assuming that it doesn't get used for claims, is going to accumulate. And that's not really how they like to see the payroll clearing fund used as a place to accumulate money. So they're recommending that they haven't issued a directive as to how exactly they want us to do it, but they want us to keep those monies separate that are sitting there not yet used for claims. So that's why I requested this.
Okay. So this is ordinance 2018-24, which is drafted by our attorney. And Dan said he drafted this ordinance according to some others he had dealt with the same thing in other municipalities. So this is the introduction today. I'm going to allow Dan to speak on his behalf of what he needs to say.
Yeah, this, as Jennifer said, this fund can accumulate funds. And so what happens is, one of the benefits of establishing this fund, which is recommended, although not required quite yet, I agree, but I've done it before, is that you're able to really see in that one fund then all your revenues and all your expenses, including not just your, your direct payments for medical expenses, but also all the cost of administration, your third-party administrator payments, your stop-loss insurance that you pay, to mitigate your risk. And so it gives the auditor the ability to print a report for you much easier and give you more accurate pictures on those costs and expenses versus your revenues. And that allows you then to adjust either what benefits you're going to have or what deductibles you're going to have, because you have in one place a good financial picture to see your trending. So although I understand Jennifer comes at it from, she needs to have that not mess up her payroll clearing fund, which I understand. I think it also has the benefit of giving you one place to go for information in the accounting information, which is also beneficial.
Any questions for Dan or Jennifer in reference to 2018-24?
Should we act on this now, or do we need to act on this now?
That's what's getting paid. There's no issue with time frame. Jennifer, do you have a time issue with this? Do we need to suspend the rules and go with it today, or?
I don't need for you to, but it would kind of be nice if you did.
This time I'd entertain a motion to suspend our rules for action on 2018-24.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of suspending the rules, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so at this time then, I would entertain a motion to act on 2018-24
So moved.
Second.
for approval. John?
Yeah.
For approval. We have a motion and a second to approve 2018-24 as requested by the auditor and drafted by the attorney. Also, I just guess I will add that this is also due to the fact that we've taken some big steps in our insurance and healthcare within the county as far as cost. I know for many years, I don't know how far back we go, we've been trying to get to the self-insured status, and we got to that partially self, or well, for a while we were fully self, and then we were seeing the huge cost increase. We finally got to the partially self-funded, and then with our change that we made this last year, we got to the fully self-funded. As we talked a while back, I know we've had some issues here with the changes, but through communication stuff, but through some meetings and stuff, I think we've really grasped maybe the things that were happening, that was happening incorrectly, and hopefully going forward, we don't have those issues. I know there's been meetings not only with the department heads, which I was a little disappointed because it was very poorly attended, but they always want to call and say, hey, we got these issues, which we need to know about. But there's only, I think, three or four department heads that showed up to the meeting. However, they have set up to have on a rolling 30-day basis or so, where they come in and sit down with any employee that has issues, so that they can help work through the claim or whatever the issue might be that they're having trouble with. So I think this is this ordinance is going to be put into place due to the fact we're finally getting to where we want to go, and seems to be a positive step, hopefully, as far as cost, and also begin self-insured like we wanted to for many years. And it just ties in more with all this just ties in more and more with the clinic and where we came with that clinic in the last, since 2013 when we opened that. So that being said, I would call for the question on approval of 2018-24. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Okay, that takes us down to other business. Anything other business amongst you three?
Well, I guess I just want to, I'd like to ask Dan Taylor here to answer a couple of questions or his opinions on that. You know, I understand and empathize with these small towns trying to control wind energy. It seems there's obviously some misinformation and misunderstanding. Perhaps it's our fault for not making it more clear what our plan is. I'd just like to ask Dan to address the stance we're taking, give your legal opinion, and what the small towns are implementing and the repercussions that could come from that action.
Again, the wind farm regulation. Well, as I told the commissioners, I think the courts in Indiana made it clear that you can't regulate land use for any use, whether it be a sanitary landfill or cell towers or wind farms, without having zoning in place. The courts have made those rulings in Fountain County and in Jay County most recently, and struck those kinds of regulations down. The courts have even recently struck down land use regulation in Tippecanoe County for blasting and mining, and in Indianapolis as it relates to cell towers, because they didn't use the proper zoning procedure. Now, Mr. Milam and I disagree on a lot of things, but one of the things we agree on is that there is only one case in Indiana that says that the regulation of wind farms was upheld. That's Rush County case. And the court was asked to decide whether the action by the Rush County Board of Zoning Appeals was consistent with the zoning ordinance. That was the issue. Obviously, Rush County has zoning, and the court upheld that ruling by the BZA and said that the BZA had been given discretion to go up to a certain level of setback in Rush County. Didn't mean that it could be done anywhere, just in Rush County. So I've advised you guys consistently that there are some things you can do and some things you cannot do. And I think that to the extent that these towns are considering or have adopted ordinances with land use regulation in them. They're not going to be enforceable. I think also people who have property rights, whether they be farmers or the wind turbine companies who have options, easements, and other property rights, are probably going to challenge those ordinances. In my opinion, they're going to have a pretty good chance of prevailing because that's what the courts have said. It's not my opinion, I mean, it's just what the courts have said. Now, it would be different if there were cases on the other side, but there are none. When Fayette County wanted to stop the landfill, they just slapped up an ordinance. We've had elected officials, elected county officials, suggest to you all that that's what you should do. I think one of them said, I don't care if it's illegal, you should do it anyway and pay the attorney's fees.
It's not really funny, but
It isn't funny to me. I think of the day we start making laws that way, and that's what ordinances are, laws, you know, we're in no trouble, because then the question gets to be, which next illegal ordinance are you guys going to pass? And you guys can do that, I mean, but I will certainly protest strongly. But the other thing that's unusual about these ordinances is it would be, the courts have said it would be illegal for these towns to adopt zoning regulations without zoning and a comprehensive plan in their own jurisdictions. You see, these ordinances have taken a whole different step and said that they're going to regulate, they're going to pass laws that affect people 4 miles out. And again, with rare exception, those town councils don't have the right to do that. This is not one of them. I've talked to several of the attorneys of these towns have called me, and we've talked, not all of them, but several of them. And I think that, as I said, there's little disagreement about what the courts have said. That doesn't mean elected officials can't do what they want to do, but again, I don't think they're going to be enforceable. I think they're going to, fortunately, force the taxpayers of those towns into a very difficult position of either spending lots of money to defend them or just acquiescing in a challenge and saying, well, we knew they weren't enforceable anyway, but we just thought we'd scare these people off or whatever. That's my opinion.
I appreciate that, Dan. I get, you know, I just want to be clear, you know, this Board of Commissioners has no agenda, you know. We're not driving any outcome, and we are listening to the people in this community. The comprehensive plan process we're going through is comprehensive plan process we're going through is the mandate or the will of the people. And we have a process to go through here to